What's up, everyone? This is In the Pocket, where we talk about the people and things around sports that you want to talk about. And we probably go down a couple rabbit holes here and there and talk about something completely unrelated about sports because that's what me, Big Bob, and my man Maestro, who's over there, some on that side of the camera, that's what we do whenever we talk. It brand new show. Most of you probably don't know who we are. Again, as I said, I am Big Bob. That's Maestro. We have a little bit of history together. Maestro, you want to let people know where we first met?
We first met actually when you interviewed me for a job in Simra Sports basketball online virtual basketball league where we were both doing media work, and you interviewed me for the job and made the mistake of hiring me, and you regret that forever. And yeah, man, that was sort of like the introduction to our spiraling down many rabbit holes that may or may not be legal in North America. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. SimWorld Sports. We were a part of the longest running SimWorld Sports podcast. I had started it. I think it was in like 2022, I think it was, maybe 2023. And then you joined me, and we knew it was a match made in heaven the second we got on the mic together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how about let the people know a little bit about something about yourself, Maestro, so they can get to know you before we start diving into our sports world.
Oh, absolutely. And what's great about how we're going to do this is as we move on throughout this is journey together, as it were. You're going to learn more about us as we go. So we like to peel the onion back just a little bit at a time. It's a blooming onion, as it were. But I was really lucky in that my life has somewhat always been connected to sports, no matter what else I've done. All the way from elementary, high school to college. Got a taste of some almost professional ball, like, qualified, had a couple of workouts and things like that. Obviously was never good enough to do anything real with it, but man, along the way did I pick up a whole bunch of cool stories, and that's kind of the stuff we're going to share as we move along. Bob, what about
Yeah.
yourself?
I am the classic wasted talent athlete that you hear about. First off, I didn't play any organized sports till my sophomore year of high school, and I didn't listen to my coaches, and pretty much was the laziest person off the field in the entire gave 150% on the field, but I was the laziest person off the field. I was big and fast for no reason, but did zero to continue my career. And always talk. I'm always that what if he would have cared just a little bit, kind of like Jamarcus Russell. I was just saying. I mean, you can put me and Jamarcus Russell in the same category, I guess.
I will never do that. Oh my goodness gracious. He's going to be a whole separate podcast by himself. And when we get to that part of talking about draft picks, brother, let me tell you.
We're both over 300 pounds. So I guess I could have been a quarterback too, I guess. But, well, like you said, I guess we won't dive too much into ourselves here, because things will slowly unveil themselves as we go along this journey that hopefully goes on for a long time. So Maestro, first, obviously, I know we do want this to be a interactive show in the future. So when we say that we want to talk about the people and things around sports that you guys want to talk about, absolutely, that's what we want to do. Obviously, this is the first episode, and there aren't any of you yet, so we'll build up from here. But Maestro, go ahead. Let's talk about something. What do you want to talk about?
So, it's funny, Big Bob, as we were sort of putting this together, and what I like about the way you and I work together, and I think our amazing audience is going to learn to appreciate that, and welcome aboard, that we both like to stay in the moments. Yeah, we bring in some history stuff, but we both like to stay in the moments. And there's a couple of things that I'll just say that I want to, before we get started. Some things that you probably won't hear from us, or you might hear from Bob, but you won't hear from me. So I'm not going to tie Bob down. But you will rarely, if ever, hear us call for somebody's job because we don't like to see anybody get fired, even though they might be working to get fired. We don't like to do that, but sometimes they make us, right? And
Hmm.
also, like you will rarely, if ever, hear us talk about somebody's contract. If somebody decides to pay a person that much money and they suck, then that's not that person's fault. I mean, a lot of us would like to get paid $100 million if we suck at something, right? So,
Yeah.
we're not going to say, "Oh, he's getting paid so much money, he oughta." No, he got paid that much money because he wanted it and they gave it to him. So whatever. So that's not really ground rules. Was kind of where we are, which brings us to what's going on now. We're in the middle of the NFL. As we're recording this right now here, we're in the middle of the NFL season, and there's a lot of wows this season. Some of you might have figured out from my attire that I'm a fan of the New York Jetropolitans. My favorite absolute franchise. That we're doing great. Our perfect record got ruined last week, so that kind of
Ah.
I'm kind of bummed about that. Yeah, I know, man. That one win just kind of tarnished everything for me.
Yep.
Um, but uh, and my man Big Bob is a big fan of the Vikings, and so we kind of have a lot. Well, I have a lot more to be verklempt about than he does, but but this season, Bob, I don't know how you feel about it, but it's kind of been a case of the weird, right?
Yeah.
Kansas City. Off to a much slower start than they usually are off to, right? Everybody expects them to be in a Super Bowl like every year now until Patrick Mahomes turns 140. Um, you know, Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things, but the Bills are not who we thought the Bills were, even though the Bills defeated Kansas City this past week. But there's a lot of other teams that kind of making you go, wow, did not see that coming. And I have a feeling, and I don't know how you're seeing it, but as I'm hearing people talk about the NFL right now, it's not so much about the success or lack of success of the teams. It seems to be more and more about what players aren't performing in the way that we thought they should be performing without putting it in context of the team that they're on. And I don't know if you're kind of feeling the same thing about that, Bob, or seeing the same thing, but I just find it really counterintuitive. The Jets just offloaded a bunch of talent, right? Sauce Gardner
Yep.
went someplace.
Colts.
Yeah, the Colts. So we have this thing where you have these very talented players on teams that aren't that good, and then now those players go to these other teams. And I'm hearing these conversations amongst our larger media brothers that just kind of doesn't make any sense to me because they're leaving out, oh, yeah, you're a great player, but you're on a team that's bad. So of course
Yeah.
you're not going to perform the way you should perform. I don't know, Bob, how are you seeing it?
Yeah, I mean, go back to what you said. The teams, I feel like a lot of the teams, obviously, that are in the lead of their divisions, at the top of their divisions, weren't really expecting it at the beginning of the season. I'll use two examples, both headed by former Vikings players, playing like Hall of Famers right now. But Seattle and Sam Darnold, the Colts,
Yep.
Daniel
Who was once a
Jones,
Jet, who was
yeah,
drafted by
who
the
was a
Jets, by the way.
draft. Yep, it's only a matter of time until Zach Wilson gets his chance. Uh, um, but yeah, I mean, you have these guys that they got put into perfect. Well, we didn't realize beforehand, but they got put into perfect positions to utilize their talent, or they got off these teams that held them back and are making
Hmm.
them look like stars. Sam Darnold, if the Seahawks continue to play the way that they're playing, I don't know if you can vote against him for MVP.
Yeah.
Uh, but then you go and you look at some of these other teams. Obviously, yes, Cam Ward's a rookie. The Titans are in last place in their division. They're looking like they potentially could have the top pick in the draft if it's not the Jets. Um, you didn't expect much from him, but people are still. You expect too much from the young guys. We expect them to come in and be immediate game changers like CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud was an anomaly I was called him as a freshman, as a rookie. Um, but people have to remember. You look back, Peyton Manning broke the record, I think, for most interceptions in a rookie season. I believe it was, or was it all? I don't know. I don't remember if it was just his rookie season or all time. But then he goes on and has a Hall of Fame career, top three quarterback, arguably of all time. Um, we just have these unrealistic expectations that we really never know what's going to happen until they hit the field. The Vikings, they brought in um, Ryan Kelly and Will Freeze from the Indianapolis Colts, and it's like, oh, the Vikings are going to have the best offensive line in the NFL this season. And I know as of one thing that I think I can say about both of us is we will never we are very realistic about our teams, and we're not going to fanboy
Mm-mm,
our team. We're not going
mm-mm,
to be fanboys
mm-mm,
of our team.
mm-mm.
I told people slow down a little bit. We have yes, two of the best tackles in the league when they're healthy. And then we brought in two questionable health wise linemen and a rookie from people got mad at me for um, saying I don't trust players from a certain school. We brought
Right.
in a offensive line, a guard from Ohio State. The Vikings have had terrible luck with offensive linemen from Ohio State. Sorry that I was a little cautious heading into the season with four injury-prone players and a rookie from a school that we don't usually do well with. Yes, it's just a coincidence that these players usually are bad from a school for a certain team, but I was realistic about it. And injuries have absolutely decimated our team this season. And the fact that they are where they are right now, again, they're last place, but they're 500. They're 4-4. And uh, the fact that they're there and they're still, I mean, the NFC North, arguably the toughest division in football right now. Just last season, arguably the toughest last season as well. But yeah, I'm just kind of rambling on at this point, but there's just so many things that we people don't consider. Oh, Cowboys fans always think they're going to go to the Super Bowl no matter what, but
They got
but
pills for that, by the way.
yeah, they do, and they don't take them at all. You can tell. Uh, but yeah, even I w- I did not expect Drake May and the New England Patriots to lead
Right.
their division. I did not expect
That's
them
a
to be
wow.
number one in the AFC East right now. Yeah, like people talked about May, and I was hesitant. I always hope that they all do well. Always hope that they all do well, but I was hesitant for a Duke quarterback
Right.
to do anything in I'm sorry, I said Duke. North Carolina, a North Carolina quarterback, and they're all good. Every Duke in North Carolina, they're all going to shoot me. How I confused them two
Yeah, I
schools
know. Oh my
together.
good. Oh goodness. Yeah, please. Please send
um,
all your letters of hate to
it's like I don't trust a North Carolina quarterback because they play in the ACC. They play in a weaker division. That doesn't always correlate success or not success to the NFL. But again, we all have our biases, and I'll admit mine very openly. But yeah, it just didn't expect them to be number one. Also, didn't expect the Dolphins to be absolute dog water. And
Oh, I know.
Buff, but yeah, they had so much talent. Um, but when you have a lot of inappropriate jokes to make about their quarterback down there in Miami,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
but
Please, you know what? Google that. Not on a work computer. Google that.
yes,
So,
yes, yeah. Please look up go watch the videos on Instagram because Instagram clearly is not a family friendly app as they like to portray
no.
themselves to be. um, Go look up Tua Tagovailoa. I can't even say it's yeah. I don't know Tua. Go look him up on Instagram. See what people are saying about him. Go watch the AI generated videos of him, and that's pretty
Oh, yeah.
much that's what his brain looks like. Anyways, yeah. I sorry for all that to say because we always ramble, and that's what people will learn. You'll love it or you'll hate it, and you won't tune in anymore. You'll love it and tune in all the time because you like to hear us ramble. Um, One thing turns into 50 different things. Did I
Exactly.
answer
Which,
your question? I don't
oh, by the
know.
way, well, okay. First of all, not only did you answer it, you actually gave us our first rabbit hole. The whole expectation of quarterbacks coming into the league and performing right away, and actually players period in the new NFL, and it just shows you for those of you who watch professional and or college football and are kind of discerning about it. The one thing I think that's hardest to explain to those people who just watch the games every Saturday or on Sundays, or I guess Thursdays and Saturdays and Sundays or Mondays or whatever, is the difference in organization and coaching versus whatever. And so if you kind of figured it out, we're really not going to bring you down the numbers hole. You can look up numbers all the time, but it's
Yeah.
how we get it. It's like, how we get these numbers is what's important to what we want to talk about, because that's a lot more fun. Most people are going to tell you that they hated math in school, and
hmm
math probably hated them too. So we're not going to make you do math here, so you're
I was
safe.
in
And
I was in special ed math classes until I graduated high school. Just so everybody knows, I was.
there we go. Full first disclosure, right?
Full
So, but
disclosure, special ed math classes for this guy right here.
so there's this reality, right, of these, of like a person does super well at one particular college, and we expect that to translate into the professional league, and now they're going against grown men who do this for a living, and that's not always the case. And so again, first rabbit hole, right? um Talk about your players who came in and who had to play early. And before I think people like Peyton Manning had to play early
Yeah.
because of the position of Jim Harbaugh, ironically enough, being hurt and having a back problem and not being able to continue on. So they draft Peyton Manning first. He comes in. He now has to play early. But you look now, quarterbacks that are getting drafted one, like Sam Darnold, the Jets drafted him number one overall or whatever it was. And they brought him in to a team with a new coach, highly disorganized, um, new offensive coordinator. I think he had a new offensive coordinator, the guy who organized the plays. I'm sorry, we don't, we definitely we're not going to try to like dumb explain stuff for people either too. But if you don't understand something, please tell us so that way we know that we're talking on the same
Yeah.
page here. Um, but this idea of he had multiple people who organized the offensive plays for the team. I think he had first 3 years. I think he had three, so that didn't help. And then of course he was under a defensive minded coach. That didn't help. Then you had the idea of him in the situation of not getting any additional coaching outside. Most of the talk in New York was more about his mom than about him, because she apparently is good looking or whatever, according to some people. And I don't mean that as a knock against her. I'm just saying that I don't see how that was relevant, but it apparently was enough for the New York media. Go figure. So once he leaves, of course, he goes to my man's Vikings. I mean, after a few other stops in between, but he ends up at the Vikings with an offensive minded coach who understands, who's basically a quarterback whisperer, knows how to put stuff together. And then you see all that talent everybody was looking at from him 7 years ago now coming to the fore. So once again, the right situation, the right team, the right place makes all the difference in the world. And oh, by the way, no other position is probably known for that than the quarterback, particularly in the NFL, because there are only 32 starting quarterbacks in the
hmm
NFL. And by the way, of that 32, there's probably 17 that probably shouldn't even be on the team. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. We'll leave that for later. But it's just it's just reality of a league. And this actually going to tie us into our very next subject, by the way. We're going to try to transition this for you. When people talk about that college game into the pro game, right? And they and Bob, I know you hear it. We all do talk about the difference between how the NFL is king because of how many people watch an NFL game versus how many people watch a top-rated college game. And for instance, let's just go back to what happened last week, the week before this recording. The Bills plays the Chief, and it was over 30 something million people supposedly watched the game. The top college football game of the week was the Georgia, my school, versus Florida, that school game, and it pulled in over 8 million people. And if anybody makes that argument, here's all you have to say. Bob, pop quiz for Bob, not for you guys, for Bob. Bob, how many college football teams are there in the United States? Off the top of your head. I mean, I'm talking about in total. How
Are
many
we
college
talking?
football teams?
Are we talking about Division One or just in general?
Yes, in general. How many college football teams you think there are?
Oh, I think it's probably in the 500s.
Oh, really good job. Everybody give Bob a hand right here. He was really close. As of right now, as of our recording of this, there are 777
Hmm.
college football teams in the United States, including 123 for junior college alone. The FCS, where you see the Georgias and the Floridas and the Penn States and the Ohio States and blah blah blah, whatever. There are
FBS,
100.
FBS,
Yeah,
Division
yeah. I'm
One.
sorry. Yeah, I apologize. FBS.
Do
There are
we don't
130.
call it that anymore.
No, we
We're
don't.
showing our age.
We
We're showing our age, but I
Yeah,
can't
that's right.
stop calling it the FBS.
So here we go. So here we go. FBS, you're right, is 136. FCS, where you do have Division One, two, and three still, that is 129. And then we have to add on the NAIA schools as well as a few independent schools. Notre Dame is not the only independent college in the United States. So we have 700.
Where are the HBCUs? What are they? Where are they under?
They fall in the FCS. They fall in
Okay, I
the
couldn't.
yeah, they now what's ironic is there is a move to sort of dissolve them as an athletic conference because not all the FHBCU schools are historically black universities and colleges. They don't all have what they have guaranteed Division One participation without having to pay the Division One fees. I think as
Mm.
of I think as of this year, I think the fee just to be a Division One school is around $6 million. So they don't have to pay out that much.
And see, he's saying, "Where's my money?
Yeah,
Where's
right.
my money?"
But for that, you're supposed to get like TV revenue and stuff like that, but whatever.
Mm.
The HBCU schools that participated, particularly when Deion Sanders was at Jackson State, they
Mm.
brought in a lot of money, but he was also in a
Yep.
situation, much like when he went to Colorado, where he was the draw more so than the team. And within
Yep.
that community, we're not going to get into the economics of that. That's a whole nother story. But that reality of those schools, they sort of get pushed into the wash, right? So let's go back. How many NFL teams are there, Big Bob?
I 7, 8, 32.
My dude, ding, 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 ding. Everybody, please give Big Bob a cookie because he deserves it. He's absolutely nailed it. 32 professional teams in the NFL. Well, 32 teams. Of them, probably 8 are professional. The rest are like the Jets. The rest are like my Jets. There. So, the reality is when you have one league with 32 teams, another team with 777, but let's say of that 777, you probably only get about 50 to 60 on TV on a regular basis. Of course, you're going to have a diluted viewership. Why? Because if you didn't go to that school, if you didn't go, okay, for instance, if you have like the Peacock network, are you really gonna tune in to Iowa State versus the Minnesota University, whatever, blah, 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 whatever, when they come on at 10 o'clock at night, if
University of Minnesota Gophers, Maestro.
okay,
I
well,
live
that one,
in Minnesota. I live in
yeah,
Minnesota now. I have to know these things.
he has to know this thing. And I was actually going to make a very inappropriate gopher joke, and I realized I shouldn't do that. So, but
We are family friendly. Friendly. Come
yes,
on.
we are. Yes, we are. So there's that reality. No matter how much you might like college football, if Boise State and Southern Idaho are not your schools, you're probably not going to watch them when they're on TV streaming on whatever service they're streaming on. And
Yep.
notice I said streaming. So, the viewership is going to be very different for different reasons. But however, you can live in Georgia, such as myself, and still have your favorite team be in New York. You can live in California and still like Miami Dolphins, and you might need
Mm-hmm.
medication or adult supervision, but you can do that. So the connection to the pro teams are always different. So when I hear our larger media brethren make these context statements about the NFL always outdoing the NCAA, I'm just saying, why don't we make it a real contextual analysis and be realistic about it, as opposed to just saying just because this team got a bigger number than this team, they must be better. Kind of
Yeah.
like when we talk about contracts. That's all I'm saying. So,
Yeah. If all we had to worry about in college football was the Big Ten and the SEC, the numbers would be a lot different. It,
right.
like you said, smaller sample in the NFL. I mean, you have 10 games, 15 games a day. In college
Mhm.
football, you might have 20, 30 games on at one time. So
Yeah.
it is
Right.
it is very, very diluted.
Yeah.
But
And oh, by the way, it shows in even how they talk about, for those of you who might follow college football and you haven't fallen asleep yet, even Bob, even how they talk about the whole idea of this college football playoff thing. And I don't know how
Yeah.
we've never had a really direct discussion about that.
Yeah.
And I guess I know my view of it has sort of evolved and now it's devolved, where I'm completely agnostic about it because I'm just gonna say it, cue the Game of Thrones music here, my man. But it's just, bruh, it's just a stream of lies. Yeah, I'm sorry I used the L word. It's a stream of lies to us, right? For those who don't know, what they do this time of the college football season, a group of people go into some hotel somewhere in undisclosed in Plano, Texas, and they come up with the list of 12 teams that will vie for the playoffs for the national championship at the end of the season. But you say, but Bob and Maestro, they're only halfway through the season. And Bob and Maestro will say back to you, of course, young Padawan, they're only halfway through the season, but it's a way for college football to make more money, to have more discussion about these teams that we're not talking about anymore because a lot of teams are not doing as well as we thought they were going to do. And some teams are doing better than what we thought they were going to do, but nobody really cares. So
Yeah.
this is a way that we talk about those teams, right?
Yep.
So now the whole thing of this college football playoff committee has become a show unto itself. And every year they have different stories about how they decide which teams make it into that top 12. And oh, by the way, that top 12 has nothing to do with the team's rankings in terms of how people feel they ranked against the other teams in the country. It has nothing to do with those teams' rankings with their own conferences even. It's just these committee members deciding these are the top 12 teams in the country for these very fluid reasons because they're rational and statistic curious only, and they come up with this list, Bob, right?
Yeah.
So here we go. Here's one of the arguments. They don't talk about head to head appearances of teams playing against each other. So a team could beat another team and that team that lost might still be ranked higher because they still think that's a better team. Make that make sense. And then they also don't talk about overall record because you have some teams that have more losses than other teams, and some teams have no losses and they're left completely out because the argument is, well, they're in a tougher conference, though they might not have played the better teams in that conference. So you have all of these floating reasons, and quite frankly, I've become so agnostic that I've devolved to the point where I don't even pay attention to it anymore. And there's a part of me that feels bad about that, and there's another part of me that feels completely released from pain of dumb conversation. How do you feel about it, Bob?
I from when I really, really, really got into sports, because it's hard to really say when you're like 8, 9, 10 years old that you're really into sports and understand things. Once I really started to understand things, I always felt like some kind of playoff would be for the best because they always felt like something was the FBS was they always got something wrong or something was always off. You never understood why is this the national championship game? Now, to say that, I feel like we're already at a spot where it's too big. I was comfortable with 4. I can understand 8, but beyond 8, I think it's everything's a money grab. The NCAA, it's a business. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
everything is
yeah.
truly a business. And anything past 8 was a money grab. And that's all it is. That's the talk of it going to 16, the talk of it going to 24, whatever it is. It's so unnecessary. If it goes to 24, it's like adding an entire another season on for some of these kids. And we talk about how, oh,
Oh,
we
but
need to
Bob, we don't
protect
want
it.
to
We
make it
need,
hard for the
yeah.
kids. Bob, we don't.
Uh,
They got to go to class. Come on, Bob. Why are you
uh,
saying that? Come on, we're
uh,
protecting the kids.
is that they don't care about the kids. They don't care about the student athlete. They care about the athlete because the athlete is what brings in the money. And realistically, the athlete in like 8 schools bring in the money because what most people don't realize is how much football costs and
Right.
how I believe now this is it's been a while since I looked it up, but I did a project in college for it related to college football and how it was for so speech class. I was scared. I was one of those people. I can't. It was really hard for me to stand in front of people and talk. But what I really, really liked about my speech professor in college, which was a required class for some reason, uh, we had to write. We had to do 3 speeches on the same thing. One was an info speech about the topic. One was an argument for it, and one was an argument against it. Which I think is a great way to do that.
Oh
Is
yeah.
you have to, and you had to actually come prepared with a legitimate argument for and against it. It gives you the chance to really look at something from both sides. And when I did that particular project, I think at the time only 8 schools made money. And it was like Texas, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. I can't remember the other ones off the top of my head, but it was so few. And it's the only sport that was making money, period. And
Mm.
it literally paid for all of the other sports.
Yeah.
So, in a time where sports are getting axed from various things, various colleges, the Olympics, things getting cut from the Olympics, which I mean, that does happen, or they got to rotate, keep it fresh every now and again. But it's all about the money. And if you can play 3 more games, it's probably a couple $1 million for your
Oh,
school.
yeah,
And
easily.
maybe you can, yeah, and maybe you can keep a couple more of those sports that are just bleeding money for your university. But at the end of the day, it's really just the pockets of the higher ups and everything like that. Again, and we want to go back to your sarcastic comments about the student athlete. It's like we talk about needing to protect the kids and how they talk about how much wear and tear a running back has because they've played so many games and had so many carries. Just let's double their already heavy load and then complain about why the running back is dying in the NFL, which fortunately, I don't think it's ever really died. It's just the philosophy changes and things like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Um, but you still, I love when you have a good back who can just get you 25, 30 carries a game. But again, just go back. They need to go to class, their health, we need to protect them. It's all about the money. But again,
Right.
college football playoff, I absolutely love the idea. Again, with 4 to 8 teams, but not where we're getting to now, and I'm not going to be happy to where we end up. And it was the same way with college basketball when they
Right.
started increasing it more and more. I think was it 64? I think
Yeah,
64
it, it was
was
always
I
it was 64 for about 20 years or so, give or take,
yeah, I
and now
think
it's 147 or something like that. Just for this point.
no, I think it was a good number because of the how many teams there were.
Right.
It
Right.
wasn't just like yes, the college football playoff is 100 is it 136 now? 136 teams in the upper tier? Because I
Yes.
know
130.
they add a couple.
Mhm.
There's some that leave. All that college basketball in March Madness. That's 500 some odd teams. Like they're
Right.
all in it. They're all in it. So I think the 64 number is good. Um, and obviously, it's basketball. While it is taxing in its own way, isn't as taxing as football. Um,
Yep, and you don't have to be
so
eligible. You don't have to be eligible for one semester in baskall. I saw that firsthand where, you go to classes that fall semester and you're good to go. You don't if it's especially if you know you're gonna go pro, you can definitely blow off spring semester. Just register for the classes and disappear.
there you go.
Sorry,
But
don't mean to
yeah.
call anybody out. But you know
uh,
what? Bob, it's so interesting that you would actually put it to that way because of that experience, right? College. So for those of our viewers who might not know, so not everybody on the college team has a scholarship. Teams range anywhere from 68 scholarships to 84 scholarships on a NCAA football team. There are a lot of walk-ons. So you have rosters that can get up to 90 kids for college football, but trust me, not all 90 play. As what Bob was talking about, having that running back that can carry the ball so much, because with all those people on those rosters, a lot of them aren't necessarily, how can I be nice about this, Bob? Uh, 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 level capable. Is it? Does that sound cool?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, it might be somebody's nephew, it might be somebody's whatever that they got on the team. They can say they were on the college football team, so when they go and join some financial firm, they can have pictures of them in the uniform on the sideline. And
Or
if they're on a
or
good
you run
team,
it, yeah, or you run into the situation where you have that player who's just so good that the coaches don't want him off the field.
right, right,
Which
right,
is why I know people. I know he gets a bad rap because of his attitude in question marks. Marshawn Lynch was
right.
an amazing teammate.
Hmm. Hmm.
Go back and look at some of the stories, especially going back to college, where he faked injury. Was it? I can't remember if it was Leon Washington or who it was on the Cal team with him, but he faked an injury just so that his teammates could get in because he
Yeah,
knew the coaches didn't want to take him out. So he would
and I
fake
believe it
these
was.
injuries.
And I believe it was Leon Washington because Leon Washington was one of my favorite players for the Jets, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping to say anything out of school, but I think I actually heard that story from Leon Washington about being a big fan of Marshawn and why, what kind of guy he was. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I was not a Marshawn Lynch fan on any level, just because of how his presentation. I'm going to
Yeah.
admit my prejudice with that. It was my presentation, but I know people who work with him who not only play with him, but people also work with him on like a lot of these commercial shoots and things like that. And I'm hearing nothing but these glorious stories, and then stories about what he does that does not make the media, stuff that he's doing to help out. Um, you
Oakland,
know, yeah, exactly. So
his community.
yeah, so
Yeah.
again, for him, he's one of the few cats that I will apologize to face if I ever see him again, because I've heard a lot of great stories about him and from people who I trust. So, but yeah, I
Yep.
believe it was Leon Washington because that was exactly one of the stories that he told about Marshawn and just what kind of guy he was, which I think is really cool. And oh, by the way, and I'm and you know what? Oh, okay. Also, we're talking about to our viewers here. We appreciate you so much for taking the time,
Yeah.
for watching our inaugural episode. That's a hot mess,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
if it's if,
Let's can we tell people can we tell we don't I we're not going to ever be the most professional podcast. We don't
no,
practice these things beforehand.
no, no,
Um,
no.
Honestly, before I hit start recording, I said, "What do you want to talk about?" NFL and college football. Perfect. Let's introduce
Yeah,
ourselves
and
and
we just
talk about
go.
the NFL and college football. And here we are. We might get a little more detailed later on, but especially if you guys give us ideas, we want to
Oh,
talk. We
absolutely.
really, really want to talk about what you want to hear. We want to talk about that. And again, I know we talk about sports, but we'll talk about anything.
Yeah,
Me and Maestro love to talk to each other. At the end of the day, that's all it is. This is just, if we weren't on here right now, this is just us hitting record on a normal conversation. We just love to talk to
exactly.
each other, but we want you guys to hopefully love hearing us talk to each other.
And I'm going to say this right now. I'm just going to put it out there, and you guys document this, please. As long as Bob and I are in charge of what we're doing, we're always going to be free. We're never going to put anything behind a paywall to get any extra time out of you because we
No.
kind of don't believe in that. We want to be you, and in some cases, your voice, if you will allow us to be. So, if there's something particular that you want to hear about or have a thought about, for instance, like what we learned about Bob today, Bob is not a fan of Richard Nixon because, so where did that come from? Because he talked about how they used to decide national championships, and for those of you who don't know, Richard Nixon was once the president of the United States. I make no assumptions here, and it was, I believe it was a Texas Arkansas game. So I'm going to
Yeah,
rabbit
yeah.
hole. I'm rabbit hole
It was
1969 because it was
Texas.
the year.
It was Texas for sure. I don't know who they played, but it was
Yeah,
Texas for sure.
yeah, yeah, I think it was Texas and Arkansas, and I think it was 1969 because that was the year my Jets last went to and won the Super Bowl. Um, but he attended the game and decided because Texas came back and won 15-14 after being down 14-0, that Texas was national champions. And it started this whole debate about how he weighed in on it, and then he inadvertently did it again against with the I believe it was with Nebraska and Penn State a couple of years later in an offhanded way that also could have added to his legacy of sticking. He had other issues a couple of years later. You might want to look that up too. Um, liquid and a thing that you go in and out that swings both ways. I'm not going to say the name of it here because we don't want to start any bad blood.
We
But
are
yeah, you
not a
kind of
we're not a political podcast. We don't care
no,
one way
no,
or the
no,
other.
no, we don't. No, we don't. So
You're
but
trying to get us. You're trying to end us before we started, Maestro.
so I'm just saying our boy Richard had some issues that kind of haunted him for a little while after that. But that being said, we know Bob didn't like him because he decided about Texas being national championship. I believe over Arkansas, please. And oh, by the way, we always want you to fact check us. We just
Yeah,
please, if we say
yeah,
something that's kind of off, just gonna let us know. Hey, dude, you missed this by the way, because and we will do corrections and we will own up to it. And
yeah.
this because that's just who we are. Um,
Yeah,
so
I do my best to try and just I try and remember things that I might have heard. Research and stuff isn't my strong suit. Talking and BSing is.
yeah,
So here we go. If it sounds
and
good, it sounds good, but let me know if I'm wrong.
oh, absolutely. And so I have my very first question for you for our listeners here. And it's the very first question, and it doesn't matter whenever you see this episode, it doesn't matter how long we've been on, please drop us a question. You can and you'll be able to reach us on YouTube, you'll be able to reach us on Discord. Soon we'll have an email address going and things like that too. You'll be Instagram and TikTok and all the other stuff that the youngins do. Because I'm an old man and I really don't know how this stuff works. So, but I would like as we close out our show here today, our very first show, we would like to hear your very first television sports experience. And I'm being specific about television because here we go. Here's more of the onion back. I grew up in very, very rural Mississippi. And to the point where it wasn't three networks. You weren't able to get three networks out there, but you were able to get radio. And so I grew up listening to baseball on the radio. I still listen to baseball on the radio now. That's one thing I love about satellite radio. I can go between games and games and
Yep,
games, and I have my
yep.
favorite teams because of the radio announcers. I still like radio announcers over television announcers. I just do. And sometimes if my team is on TV, my favorite team is the Atlanta Braves. Let's get it out the way. Um, I will watch the game on television, but I listen to it on the radio. So I'm one of those dudes that people always make fun of. Even when I go to the game, I have the radio on as I'm watching the game at the game. So all that being said, before I get into to TMI, my very first television experience was 1975 Boston Red Sox, I believe against the Yankees, and it was the famous hit. I believe was it who was it Carl Yastrzemski or the other guy that hit the foul ball and he was fanning it to go fair. Very famous video that if you look up Boston, that that was my very first time watching a baseball game, which I played baseball, little league and stuff like that. But that's my very first time watching a game on television. So I thought whenever you hit the ball, you're supposed to do that dance. Like, so very next game out, I hit a ball and it happened. I'm hitting left-handed. I hit the ball. It happened to go down the left field line, so opposite field. And I'm fanning, and Sister Mary Hamilton, our coach, is screaming, "Run, fool, run!" And I'm like, "What?" She says, "What are you doing?" She obviously didn't see the game last night, so she didn't know the rules. Anyway, my very first time watching my very first television sports experience was that game, and led to some quite an embarrassing moments and some really horrible nicknames, by the way. After that, so, Bob, what about you? Do you remember your very first television sports experience?
Yeah, trying to think back, it's really hard, but it has to be. It had to be like a Red Wings Penguins game or something like that.
Ooh.
I remember what people will learn about me is my teams are kind of all over the place. I'm from Pennsylvania. Uh, I love the Pirates. I love Penn State. I love the Sixers. But when I was growing up, Penguins fans and Steelers fans were so annoying.
Mhm.
Everybody was a Cowboys fan. Everybody was a 49ers fan. It was like you were either Steelers, Cowboys, or I don't know how I'm going from NHL to NFL here, but uh, everybody was either a Steelers, Cowboys, 49ers fan. I somehow landed on the Vikings as a kid from central Pennsylvania. And then uh, just again, Penguins fans being annoying. I just remember watching a Red Wings game and going, I think that I'm assuming the Red Wings beat the Penguins, but I'm like, I'm gonna like the Red Wings because they just beat the Penguins because all of you are annoying.
That's
But
awesome.
that's where I remember my hockey fandom coming from. Um, and I don't, and even like I'll show just as a Vikings, it's hard to tell. My wife bought me this because it has Vikings purple, a Vikings purple, black and purple ring. And the black because I just like a black ring. Um, but yeah, my first experience, I think it was a Red Wings beating the Penguins, and that's where my fandom came from that team. So I really can't think of anything beyond before that. But I think I was probably five, six, five or 6 years old. I almost said that stupid, popular, viral, what, six, seven. I don't know what that is. I don't want to know what it is. I don't think anybody knows what it is.
I
But
think I
I think
do. I'm sad to say I think I do. Only because it was put in
I,
my face by two 7-year-olds at
uh,
a
all I know is I think it had something to do with LaMelo Ball, and is he 6'7"? I don't. It doesn't matter. Let's not. We don't need. We're losing more viewers as we go on. But yeah, like Maestro said, let us know down here in the comments. This is going to
please.
be on YouTube. Let us know your first. Again, your first TV experience with sports. Let us know what you want to talk about. Maybe in the future we'll have a section where we'll talk about two or three big things. Then we'll have a little viewer questions section, and if you want to send it,
Would love
I'll
that.
get the. We'll have an email, and like you said, we'll have an email and everything. If you guys want to send in recorded questions, we'll put it on the
Yeah.
podcast and answer those questions. We'll have guests on. You'll see this little empty. Let's see. Switch hands. Maestro can't see my hand because I can't figure out how to get him to see it. But there's a little blank spot right here. We'll figure out what. Have some fun things over here. Uh, again, we're not
We
going to be.
we
We're
have
not
no
going to be.
curtain, by the
Yeah.
way. We have no curtain. So trust me, it's not like we're hiding stuff from you. You're gonna know what's going on with us every show. We there's no secrets. There's no curtain to look behind because if it has no curtain, the emperor has no clothes, and we're cool with that.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
didn't come out
I'm
right.
living
That
in a
didn't come out
basement
right.
right now, and I got a bed behind me. I mean, I don't know. This isn't the most ideal recording spot, but here we are. Until I have a house, this is what it's going to be.
He's
But
not homeless. He's not homeless.
I'm
He's in the
not.
process of moving. So please don't worry. No, please don't start a GoFundMe for Big Bob.
No, please save. I am locked in Maestro's basement. Please save me, please.
Safe word
Well,
cucumber.
cucumber. But we want to thank all of you that are here to listen, or that are here listening to us that are brand new. I do know that there are a lot of people from SimWorld Sports. Rest in peace. Potentially coming back in sometime in the future. Is it next year? Is it 15 years from now? Who knows? Doesn't matter. We'll be here as long as we're both alive. We're gonna be here. So I know some people, but we do know some people are going to follow us over from SimWorld Sports and give us some viewership and some support. But yeah, we appreciate every single one of you that have listened thus far. These episodes are never going to be short. We ramble. We will. You can complain about it because people love to complain, but we're never going to change who we are. But we will again talk about whatever you want us to talk about. So for Maestro and myself, we appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.